Welcome back to the Socially Delightful Podcast, everybody. I am so excited to have Paige on from the Adultish Whines podcast. She is so fun. All of your reviews, by the way, Paige, talk about how fun you are, which is so fun to notice too. And today we're going to hear a bit about Paige's story, and we're going to dive into some adultish social Reddit stories. So, y'all, we have wild Reddit stories for y'all today. Each one of them, I was like, ooh, I am so intrigued. I have to keep reading to the end. So, the last one that we're going to have is Am I the asshole for not giving my sister in law and her family a luxury vacation? So, you got to stay tuned for that one. Paige, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. We just spoke like maybe 6 weeks ago on mine.
Yeah, it was so fun too. So
I
fun.
loved having you on. And I've loved the feedback from my listeners. And I don't know if I told this to you on the episode. I love how you word things. You say like what I want to offer is, or think of it this way. And I think that's such a healthy way to maybe give advice or have conversations. So I know we talked about so much, but that was something that I really took away from that episode, was just like, yeah, you're a coach and you're an expert in this field, but you weren't saying like, do this, do this. You were saying like, what I want to offer is look at it this way. I was like, I love that. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm interested. I've never really been on Reddit before. And that story that you just told the title of is crazy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is.
It's going to be so, so fun. And thank you for telling me that. I love that. I think it's important that everybody decides what is right for them. And I think sometimes you have to present the information in a way where it's like, hey, invitation, do what's best for you. Because one thing I could say for somebody, which is could be really effective based on the science, is like completely different for like what this person needs and what they're going through right over here, you know?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that. That's so fun.
You're welcome.
Well, tell everybody how you got started with this podcast. What's the journey?
Yeah, so Adultish Whines podcast started like so many other great ideas in 2020, obviously recovering or in the middle of a pandemic, if you will. I was living in Los Angeles, California, and ended up moving to Houston, Texas, middle to end of 2020. I have never been a person who liked to try new things. I'm a type A person. I like a plan. I like to be in control. And so me moving was a huge jump, and people were surprised by it. And when I moved, one of my sisters, she's a hairstylist, one of her clients who were really just acquaintances and like in very different age groups, she said, oh, I'm really going to miss hearing your crazy stories. You need to come up with some sort of digital journal so we can all keep, up with you. And I just kind of put it in the back of my head, like, okay, see you next time I'm in town, like whatever. And then moved to Houston. Fast forward, I brought it up to my friend, and there was so much discord happening in the world around the pandemic, whether it was race, politics, vaccines, masks, 6 feet separation. You just were like, friendships are being torn apart. And it was so sad. A lot of my friendships, took that hit as well. And so I spoke to one of my girlfriends out here in Houston, and I said, I wonder if there's a way where we can just like make everyone more relatable. Like we really are just all humans. We have different point of views. We come from different backgrounds. Like I've always known for our 15-year friendship, I knew that you felt this way. Mm-hmm. I knew that you believed in that, and that was okay with me. But now that I'm speaking out about it, is now that's why it's, becoming problematic. So that's the idea of Adultish Whines. It's just like, can we all just like whine together, relate together? Like we're all just trying to get through this life. So started it with my girlfriend. We did it for about a year. And she's one of my, I think you call it like the pinnacle. At the tip top. She's one of my core best friends that had forever. And so when we started the podcast, I said, hey, this is my idea, let's do it for a year, because I don't know how to do it myself. I wouldn't even know how to talk to a camera myself, and so really thankful that she was down to try it with me. But we wanted to make sure that our friendship was most important. So we said in a year, let's get together and like kind of re-talk and make sure we're both on the same page. We both love it. So we went towards the end of the year, and she was like, I don't like it. And I was like, I love it. I love it. I want to do it for the rest of my life. And she's like, and you were made for this. So like you continue on, and I'm going to root you on. And so from that point on, I rebranded. I had to learn all the tech and the audio and everything. I'm just like not that savvy. And so now it's been like I'm in my 4th year, and I'm about to start season 5 of Adultish Whines podcast. So that's kind of
Amazing.
the that's how it started. And the themes of Adultish Wines podcast and like the guests that I have on are really, like I said, to talk about all things life, human, mental health, therapy, dating, sex, traumas, like not necessarily politics, but if that gets brought up, it does. It's
Hmm.
like you have a different viewpoint. Like I would be so happy to hear why why you grew up thinking this way or why you changed your mind. And so yeah, just to kind of, we're all humans, we're all just trying to get through this life together. So that's
Yeah,
Adultish Wines.
I love it. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
It is so fun. I love the way that you talked about it. And honestly, y'all, figuring out the tech is like the biggest hurdle in a podcast too. So, like, already such a big accomplishment, but
Yeah.
like all of the seasons that you have and all of the stories. And again, y'all go check out Adultish Wines. Again, yours truly was over there. It was so fun. And every single review that you have on there is like, oh my gosh, Paige is so fun. Like you really have like a blast doing it and having these conversations. So
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you. I really do. I used to call myself a quitter. I've tried a lot of things, whether it was fashion school or PR, working with, styling and all these different things. And I quit them all. And I just thought, gosh, I am not dedicated. Like, what is wrong with me? And
Mm,
then I started this podcast. And when the opportunity arose for Carolyn and I to both, like, should we just stop then? I was like, no, I'm going to do it. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done, which just the fact that I wanted to stick with it. Like,
yeah.
okay, I was quitting things because I didn't love them. And this is what
Mm,
I love. So thank you. I'm happy that all the reviews are good. And then that's the feedback because I
it
love doing it.
shows. It
Thank you.
shows. It's infectious when people love things. That's actually, by the way, like one of the ways that people are really charismatic is when they're really passionate about something and they talk about something. Like we just want to do anything to support their mission, right?
Mm,
Like we just want to be around them and be like, oh my gosh, okay, how can I think of this,
yeah.
X, Y, Z to help support you? And so it's also it shows. It shows. Well,
Thanks.
beautiful. In honor of Adultish Wines, I think it'd be so fun to do like a wine and a win.
Okay.
And yeah, do you have yours?
I do. And I don't know if it's going to be boring or not, but I did just buy my first home, which is an exciting thing. Like, that is crazy. I mean, that's the dream, right? Or not everyone's dream, but like to have basically equity was my dream. Like, I want to have something that I've been investing all this money for. Oh my gosh, I'm putting it all towards rent. So, like, that's my win, is that I'm 35. I didn't have a cosigner. I don't have, you know, I have my three sisters as far as my family goes, and my parents I don't have. And so I really just did it on my own, which is huge. Whoopsie, getting emotional. It's been a month. It's been really hard, but like it's a win, right? The wine side of things is that it is so hard.
Mm.
I'm on the edge of my seat for everything. Like, was giving my dog a bath in the guest bathroom for the first time. Ran the bath for about 10 minutes or so. Water through my ceiling.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it's just like, I have to be prepared and on the edge of my seat for anything to come up. And then also a wine too is like, my dog needs to get a job because that was the same day as his vet appointment. So between his vet appointment and the cost for the plumbers, I'm tapped out. So that's my win and that's my wine. They're kind of related, but
Yeah. And oh my gosh, thank you for sharing and like being so vulnerable with us. That's so lovely.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely see you. Moving is a lot. Also, your brain doesn't like get used to your environment for like 3 months. Like everything's over. Like right now, I've been in the place that I've been in well, I'd say like 4 years now. I've tuned everything out except for
Mm,
you in front of me, right? But when you're
mm-hmm.
in like a new environment, your brain is like seeing all of these things and absorbing them and noticing the way they look and all the decision fatigue. So it's a
Yeah, I feel
lot
that
in
decision
general.
fatigue. Oh my gosh. Like, I've
Yeah.
been having this steady to-do list, and it was like, if I did, I was like walking around with this to-do list, like in my pocket, in my work bag. I was like, because at any moment, the next time I think of something, I have to write it down because there's
Hmm.
just too much going on. I spoke to the plumbers recently, and they were like, oh, we emailed you this. And I said, was it possibly in the week of this week? Because I'm not going to lie, I didn't read any email that came in. It was just so overwhelming. But
Yeah.
we're moving past. We're moving past.
Moving past. You got this. You got this. And so for my win and wine. I guess win to start this morning, y'all. I met with this. I don't want to say anything because who knows what's going to happen, and this is like way premature. But I met with somebody this morning that it sounds like wants me to bring me in to do some like programming for like some of their people with like social anxiety, which is so fun.
Mm.
And programming for like social anxiety and friendship work for their organization. And so I'm so excited about that. And I'm imagining too, it'll also be like a volunteer opportunity. And so my wine is that like, which don't get me wrong, it's exciting, it's beautiful. But
Yeah.
like, y'all, I also have an internship and work for free. And wow, I just wish like everything that I'm like so passionate about could like pay me back right now. Like that would be so nice.
Oh, I
But
hear
here we are.
that. I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a dramatic way of saying that too, because my business and all of my clients are absolutely amazing. But this is also the last year that I'm doing coaching. So I think I'm more so anticipating
You're kind of in like the
the
senioritis, kind of like,
senioritis. Yeah.
like at the end of it, it's like, okay, just get through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is senioritis of my adult life. Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah. Like before, I mean, I'm a very tidy person, like organized. In my last apartment, I would clean like, I mean, too frequently, right? And in the 2 months that I knew before I was moving, I was like, kind of living in, I mean, not filth, but like for me, like I was like, I don't really need to wash this baseboards. I'm leaving in 2 months, But like I was in
Mm-hmm.
senioritis. I just put it to the side, like block it out. I don't care right now.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah. I feel that. All right, also getting to some of our stories here, jumping in, diving into some adultish wines, like and social stories. We have one coming from the Best of Redditor updates, and it is titled, Am I the asshole for not letting my friends use my backyard for their wedding because they don't want me to bring a plus one? So here's the situation. Last summer, I bought my grandparents' house. The house was the hangout spot for my friends and I throughout our childhood. This includes my friends Dave, and the house had a sizable amount of land, which includes a lake and a gazebo. I was supposed to buy the house with my now ex girlfriend, let's call her Leslie, but going through the process of getting approved to buy, I found out that she has massive amounts of credit card and personal debt that she hid from me throughout our 4 years together. I decided to break up as a result. That was 6 months ago. I met Leslie because of Dave's longtime girlfriend, Kim. And Kim is Leslie's cousin. Dave and Kim are engaged and are set to get married in April. When I was buying the house, they asked if they could have the ceremony at the gazebo, which I agreed to do. And in December, I started dating again. Leslie has not taken this well. She thinks we're going to get back together and has tried multiple times to make that happen. I have told her no an uncertain amount of times that that isn't happening. Dave and Kim have asked me not to bring a plus one to the wedding for Leslie's sake, and I have told them that that request is ridiculous. The wedding is happening at my house, using my land, and I am not allowed to bring a date because of a crazy ex? If that is the case, then they need to find a new venue for their wedding. They're pissed off about this given the short time frame of when the wedding is supposed to happen. So we are at an impasse. Am I the asshole? What are your thoughts, Paige?
Oh man. Okay. My immediate thought with just the title and like those first couple sentences was like, that's crazy. No, you are not the asshole. Like, no. Hearing the whole story, she's not the asshole. But my immediate thought is to go for like my people pleasing ways. And it's like, do I need to bring a guest? Do I need to? Can I just sit this one out? But there's the principle of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of torn.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and this is something that happens often if we have a friend that's easygoing and then we have a friend that's maybe not so easygoing, and let's say like there's like a concert that we know like easygoing friend you would really love to enjoy it with, but you know that not so easygoing friend will be upset with, we are more likely to just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna like lessen the drama on my plate. And I think, and sometimes that's not the wrong answer, right? Like going, if you will, like the easier route because you know people are going to be difficult. And
Hmm.
I'm here with you. I do think, like, especially if you're not dating anybody, like, what's the harm in not having a date there. I mean, it sounds like these are all going to be your childhood friends. It's not like you don't know anybody else. You're going to have a good time. So I don't really see the big deal. I get why it's upsetting, but I don't think it needs to be like do or die.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, what I think I would do in this situation is I'd probably be like, okay, I'm not going to be having a date and everything's fine. We're going forward with the wedding on my property. But after the wedding, I would probably take a serious look at the friendship that I have with these people and say, like, hey, I really didn't appreciate that. And, I feel very dismissed, or I feel like you chose someone over me, etc. And, I don't really want this to go forward with our friendship. So, like, let's
Mm.
talk about this problem, because for me, it was a problem. We got past it for the sake of the wedding. But because I wouldn't want, even though I would roll over for that occasion, now that I'm grown and like know my bad characteristics, I would want to know that wasn't going to be done again. Don't take advantage of me just because I'm easygoing.
Hmm. Yeah. No, good point. Good point. So we have some edits. One, I am fully aware of the liability issues, which is why I purchased and they reimbursed me for a special event insurance policy, which will provide 100% coverage of any damages, claims, injuries, etc., to any of the property or persons up to $2 million. It is one of the first things we did after I agreed to have the event in my home. Two, the wedding will have a maximum, if everyone comes, 75 guests, 5 catering staff, and 5 security staff. The security is because this is an open area that anyone walking past can access. The house has hosted events twice this size, and logistically it's been fine. On the property, there are 2 cottages, one with a bathroom and the other with 2 bathrooms. The only portion of my house that will not be locked during the wedding is the finished basement. Is
Hmm.
the finished basement. The basement has 2 bathrooms. Every person who is single, i.e., not in an established relationship, received an invitation with a +1, including me and Leslie. This talk came in after I sent in my card, indicated that I was to bring a +1. Now they are saying they do not want me to have a +1 because Leslie blew up about it, and they are now afraid of a blow up at the wedding. Leslie indicated she intends to bring someone on her card. I do not actually know if she will bring someone. Okay, like
Well, if Leslie gets a date, then I get a date.
that.
If
That.
Leslie gets a date, then I get a date. And now you're going to make me tell my date? Like, if I've already asked them, invited them, planned for this?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
no.
And also, if this breakup, if it was still awkward and you knew that, I would be like, hey, neither of you are getting +1s just for the day. You know what I mean? Like, or like have a conversation with this person about it and say, look, like things are just like really intense and I just want like a peaceful day and both of you are important to me. Like, I do think that is a like fairly reasonable request, like, especially if there was like a conversation about it. But just being like, hey, no, you can't do that after they already RSVP and then the other person can.
Yeah, and they both have to have the same rule or the same, you know what I mean? Like, they both shouldn't have been able to bring a date from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So we have an update, which is super fun. It
Okay.
comes in 1 week later and it says, so I met with Dave this morning and we talked for almost 2 hours about everything. I laid it out that I thought he was, at best, a shitty friend. I went through our long history of various things over the years that has me questioning our friendship. That was the bulk of the conversation. We then turned to the breakup with Leslie and then the shit show of the last 6 months. Throughout the last 6 months, despite Leslie's craziness, I have bent over backwards to try to accommodate her feelings. She has shown up to my house in the middle of the night. I did not go for a restraining order. When I go out, I do not go to places that I know her and her family like to go. She has implied to her family and mutual friends at various times that I cheated and or took advantage of her financially. Neither is true at all. I have held my tongue to not embarrass Leslie about these things in front of her friends and family. Dave knows all of this and yet is demanding, once again, that I put Leslie's feelings before my own. And I said, you and everyone need to stop coddling her like she is a fucking child. Dave concedes that Leslie has been crazy and ridiculous since the breakup, but he says she feels she did not get closure after the relationship. She wants to have an evening where she can talk to you to get that closure. He also told me that Leslie has been very vigilant about paying off her debt and has almost paid off $10,000 of the credit card debt. She wants to talk to me about her progress to see if that might cause me to change my mind. It will not. I asked him, so you expect me to go to the wedding and talk to her? Because I have blocked her everywhere. And date or not, I do not plan to say a single mumbling word to her. He said, I fully expect that she will lose it if y'all do not talk at the wedding. And I told him if that is the case, then, for the good reason of my property, I can't have Leslie come. If she is so unstable that I need to be coerced into conversation with her, she is too unsafe to be a guest in any capacity in my home. So I have told him, based on what he's told me, that Leslie cannot come to my house or on my land. I am still willing to have the wedding at my place, but I cannot trust Leslie won't do something given what you were telling me. And Dave lost it at this point. He said, fuck you and your shit. I don't need it. So I said, then the wedding is off, and he left, and that is the state of things.
Oh no. I think she did the right thing. You can't force me to talk to my ex, who you're saying is so unhinged that she might cause a scene at my property.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think she did. I think they did the right thing.
Yeah. It's also interesting because why would you want somebody to try to get closure at your wedding?
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, why would it matter to you, the groom, whose cousin wants to get, like, your wife's cousin wants to get closure at your wedding? That is not the time or the place to be having a conversation like that.
It's very weird. Yeah, I think that they just started off poorly. Like they should have laid the ground rules, at the beginning of the planning of this. Like, hey, it's at so and so's property. Unfortunately, since you don't get along, you're not going to be able to come to the wedding. Now, after I've seen all these or heard all these, updates and stuff, it's so funny how your mind changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because at first I was like, roll over, but sounds like she's the one hinged and everyone else is unhinged.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, too, from a friendships perspective, and we don't have the genders here, but I'm reading this as if the OP, which is like the original poster, the writer, is a guy.
Oh,
And I can hear that you're reading. Yeah, it's so fun
oh,
to hear how we interpret things and or gender things like in our
yeah,
brain. But either way, I do think having a conversation with Dave about the friendship itself, I just want to offer for everybody listening to like take something out of this, that those kind of conversations I think are really beneficial. Yes, if there's like a conflict in the friendship, being like, hey, how are you feeling about this? How are you doing with our friendship? And like, yes, you can do that like after or like during conflict to be like, where are we at? But I think especially for your close people, right? The people that are at like the tippy top of your triangle, like your friend that you were telling us about earlier, I think it's good to, after a while, like at least like once a year, like check in and be like, how are you feeling about our friendship? Where are you at? And open up the door for any like tension to be like discussed and melted away, or any like support and like assurances given, because it doesn't matter how securely attached you are, how confident in yourself you are. That kind of like relational intimacy and closeness and it builds so much trust, and opening up those conversations is so important. And so I just want to offer that for everybody. There I am saying that way, but for everybody to like think about that and be like, oh, like, have I not talking to my friend about these things that have like really bothered me? Now, I do want to say too, there is a balance. I tend to be an over communicator where I want to communicate about every little thing, and that's not helpful
mm,
either. So use your own barometer to figure out like if there's something that you want to bring up. But I think in general, just opening up the conversation for how the friendship feels is good, because I can imagine starting with like, hey, here's how you're a shitty friend, and
yeah,
then leading into this conversation also probably didn't set them up to have a great
yeah.
outcome at the end. I am not blaming the original writer in any way, shape, or form, but it also doesn't surprise me that this went poorly, you know?
And it's so funny again, back to what you said, like how we're interpreting who wrote it. Like I'm surprised if this were obviously Dave, and then if the original poster was a male as well. I'm surprised. I just feel like from what I hear from my friends or my girlfriends, husbands, and boyfriends, like men just kind of figure it out. But maybe I'm generalizing. Maybe that's a total generalization. But like they'll quick to be like, hey, don't do that, or I didn't like that, or this, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But like it's how many, like, because of the different edits and everything, like, yeah, I'm surprised. If it's two men, I'm surprised. I thought it was not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And who knows, right? I do think men in general could also benefit from more of those relational like skills. It's uncomfortable, y'all. It's uncomfortable every so often to be like, "Hey, how are you feeling?" But it's so effective and it builds so much trust. Like just recently I had one of those conversations with one of my friends and wow, like without like having to talk to her like every week or anything, I feel so deeply like bonded with this
Mm.
individual just because I know transparently where she stands and like what's important to her, you
Yeah, I
know?
think that's definitely a good tip to have. And it doesn't need to say, like, hey, I'm doing a temperature check on our friendship. It can just like be a little bit more like just intentional without being obvious or something.
Yeah, like casual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
that's
you can
funny.
have your itinerary of how you want the conversation to go, or like what you want to bring up, but it doesn't have to be like, hey, when we go out for drinks next time, can we talk about the state of our friendship? Like
Yes.
it could just be like at those drinks, like bring up those things that you want to talk about. I think that that's a really good tip.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes to not just for negative things, y'all, also like positive things.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I in this conversation with this friend when I did like if you will like a temperature check, I was like, "Hey, I just want you to know I see you doing these things and like showing up to support me in these ways and thank you.
Mm.
Thank you for doing that. That is so
Mm.
kind, you know?" But yeah, I think men could benefit from that too. But it's funny how we both like interpret it and I wonder how we're going to interpret this next
Yeah.
story. So,
Let's go.
this next one is coming from Best of Redditor Updates, and it's called or titled, Am I the asshole for blocking my childhood friend after she tried to make me pay for the catering of her son's first birthday? So here's the thing me, 28 female, and Anna, 28 female, have been best friends since forever. Like literally, we grew up together, went to school, first breakups, everything. Naturally, when she had her baby, I was thrilled for her, and I even helped plan the baby shower and got super involved in her life as a new mom. But recently, things have gotten weird. Anna's son turned 1 last weekend, and she wanted to throw a huge party. Like, I'm talking over the top, rented venue, professional catering, decorations, the whole shebang. And I thought we were just gonna have like a nice little family and friends thing, but nope. Anna had a vision. And fine, no biggie. I figured she could do whatever made her happy for her son's big day. Fast forward to a week before the party, and Anna starts hinting that she's a little stressed about costs and how things are tight right now. And I get it, having a baby is expensive, but she kept bringing it up in every conversation. I offered to help with the decorations or to pick up some snacks, but she waved it off, saying she had everything under control. The day the party comes, and it's all chaos. Balloons everywhere, bouncy house, tons of people I didn't even know. I showed up early to help set up, and Anna's running around like a headless chicken. And then, as we're putting out the decorations, she casually says, "Oh, by the way, I put the catering on your card." I hadn't seen a catering bill, let alone agreed to pay for one. So I said, "Oh, what do you mean you put it on my card?" I asked, trying to stay calm. She looked at me like I was being dramatic and goes, "Yeah, you know I've been struggling, and I figured you wouldn't mind covering it, and I'll pay you back later." Excuse me? First of all, I never once said she could use my card. And second, I had no clue how much this catering event cost. When I asked, she shrugged and said, "Only about $500. It's not a big deal." $500 for food I didn't even order or agree to pay for. And I told her, no way, I wasn't paying for something she never asked permission for. And frankly, I didn't have that kind of money just lying around. She acted all shocked and hurt, saying I was being selfish and how it was her son's first birthday. as if I am supposed to go into a debt for a party I didn't even throw. We had a massive argument in front of some of her friends, and I ended up leaving early. Later that night, she blew up my phone with texts saying I ruined her son's day, that I was being a terrible friend, and how I didn't understand how hard things were for her right now. I just couldn't believe the audacity. After everything, I blocked her. I couldn't deal with the guilt tripping, especially over something so ridiculous. Now, some mutual friends have reached out saying I was too harsh and that I should have just helped her out because she's struggling. But I felt like she crossed a line. You don't just throw someone's money into your plans without asking them, right?
Yeah, that is, she is not, she is not the asshole. No, absolutely not. Oh my gosh, this reminds me of a situation that I've had with a friend, and I would absolutely love nothing more than to be able to help you. Like if this person was saying, "Hey, I'm really struggling. I have my son's birthday. I've already taken care of the decorations. Is there any way you could help me with this and I'll pay you back this and then here's my plan?" I would undoubtedly say yes. Like even if I didn't really have that money to float. But the assumption that sends me over the edge, and it has sent me over the edge. So I'm feeling a little bit like a friend, like a situation that has happened with a friend, and it's like, okay, and then okay, so you assumed this, so now let's have a conversation about it and take accountability for it. But if you're looking at me crazy because I'm not going to just randomly pay $500 for your son's birthday that I'm not hosting, what do you? No.
Yeah.
I feel like, again, I feel for that friend. Like obviously they do need help and they were struggling, but you need to ask. Like you need to ask.
Yeah, but they don't sound like they've had a contemptuous relationship in the past. They didn't mention any other issues in the past, and they said in the post, like, things have gotten a bit weird lately.
Mm.
And I'm wondering, weird, how, like, has she done anything like this cross major boundaries? But it sounds like she really views our OP, the original writer, like, she views her as family, which in some ways is, like, really beautiful. But I think sometimes in moments like that, like with people we are closest to, we are more likely to act the most unhinged. And, like, who knows, like, maybe this new mom is still struggling with, like, and not just struggling financially, but struggling in other ways with motherhood,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe just isn't herself right now for whatever reason. But I think in situations like this, like, we almost have to, like, do a temperature check in a different way of being like, hey, are you okay? Like, this is not normal behavior. And maybe it is. They didn't say anything about, like, their past, like, relationship. Either way, like, I don't think this person's the asshole at all. But I do think, again, just kind of like giving, like, a, I guess, like, social tip, I guess, for everybody, that sometimes people will do things that are out of character, and that doesn't mean we have to, like, immediately, like, cut off that friend. However, this is why, like I was telling y'all at the beginning, this is why some advice is applicable for some people and not others. There's some people that will take, like, being mistreated by people in their life, by their friends, and I am not saying you need to stick around for that either,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, again, you have to kind of figure out where you are in your friendships. But I am so confused on why they would just do such a big thing without asking.
Yeah, that's I don't think, well, again, in my similar situation, I didn't block my friend. I tried to work. I was like, whoa, this crazy thing just happened. Let's talk about it
Mm-hmm.
because that was so outlandish of you to do. We need to circle back. We need to circle back on this. And they couldn't take any, they were like,
Mm.
you're in the wrong. And I was so confident that I was not. So I continued to try and work on it or figure out the problem. Like I wanted to resolve it. But then there was no resolve. So lost a
Mm-hmm.
friend over a situation like this where all you had to do was ask. For
Yeah.
me, it was like I had changed my personality from people pleasing to like not, like I did so much personal growth. So like I was this person for people for so long. So I did understand that there was going to be a lot of adjustments needing to be made, from friendships. And I was totally open to that. But it was kind of like, okay, like fool me once, fool me twice, fool me three times. Okay, now you fooled me again. And I'm not going to just lay down.
Right, right. And that is something that happens for a lot of people when they do stop people pleasing. However, I don't want people to think that all of the time, like when you stop people pleasing, that it doesn't mean you can't have like connections, you know? It does happen where we stop people pleasing and then we like lose some friendships. And I want to be clear too, by me saying advice earlier of like, hey, if this is like a one time thing where this behavior is weird,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're
Mm-hmm.
like, girl, what are you doing? Like, I do
Yeah.
think we all are warranted that. Like, the times where I have been like temperature checked by my friends, I've been like, that person has to be open to it too. But I've been like,
Right.
oh, shoot, like and really have used my friend, like, kind of checking me, if you will, to grow. But in your situation, you said, like, fool me like three times, right? Like, okay, like, I'm not doing this anymore and to grow. But
Mm-hmm.
also, when you stop people pleasing, it builds trust in your relationships, right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier about like opening up conversations and that transparency. I have a friend, and recently I actually just talked to her about it. And I was like, hey, I noticed that like I think like we're just doing things because I like to do them. But how do you feel about this? And like
Mm.
encouraged her. And I was like, to not, like basically people please me. And I told her, I was like, look, I want to know if like the activities that we're doing, both of us enjoy. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
makes you feel connected to you. Um, but no, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so for this person here, they say to everyone asking why she had access to my card, it is still a question to me. Maybe she went through my things when I visited to help babysit her son a day before his birthday, which, whoa, okay.
No, the story is worsening.
Yeah, I don't care if that's your sister. That's strange. So,
Yeah.
how she did it, I don't know, but I already filed a dispute with my bank about the charge. I will be checking my card to see if there are any other things that she has purchased using my card, and I can't really imagine that she could do this to me. And so then we have an update,
Okay.
and it says, I have already filed a dispute. I also told her parents about the incident, and they were shocked by her behavior. They said they would talk to her. I figured they already did because I told them what happened, and she stormed over to my house, ranting about how I was making such a big deal by telling her parents and reminding me that we've been best friends who literally grew up together. I explained where she went wrong, but instead of taking accountability, she accused me of being selfish. She clearly isn't in the right mind. I don't know if she's experiencing postpartum issues, but I'm not going to tolerate this kind of treatment. I also told her that if she didn't stop harassing me over a problem she created, I will file a restraining order. As for the money she used, I've decided to follow your advice and press charges so she can hopefully learn her lesson. For those doubting if this story is real, I wish it wasn't.
Whoa. I mean, I'm not, I think that she's doing all the right things. I don't know that I would have had excuse me, but big enough balls to file or to say I'll file a restraining order or to press charges. But I understand. I mean, those seem like the next steps.
Mm-hmm.
Those do.
They do. They do. And this is also like a great example of everything we talked about before of like you can check in with somebody and be like, yo, I don't think you're right now, right? Like, is something going on with you? Are you okay? But also not have to like lay down and take like mistreatment in any way. I could be like, no, I'm setting this boundary. I want you to, you know what I mean? Go get help, like learn from this, like something's going on with you, because we all are going to have moments like that, and like, God forbid, if any of us have like mental health issues throughout our lives. Um, my other friend works at a mental health clinic, and the amount of people that come in that are, you know, like women going through like hormonal changes during that
Hmm.
time and like the mental health issues that it can bring up is really shocking. I'm not saying that for everybody,
Yeah, but
but
no, that's a great point because I did learn that part of the reason why my friend did what she did was because her side was, well, I was going through something and you knew that and I needed you. And that's why it was so she can't forgive and she can't move past, because I didn't understand that that was her reaching out for me. I thought it was her pushing me against the wall to make a decision that pleased her. So unfortunately she was going through something, and I hate that I couldn't be I hate that I couldn't have picked that out of like thin air, you know what I mean? I hate that I wasn't observant enough or any of those things to know that that's why she did this outlandish thing. So I do think that like that's why I kind of like the ideas of the temperature checks, because yeah, I knew that there were some things going on, but I didn't know that that was the reason for this. And again, had I known you need to borrow $500, you got it. Had I known you needed me and this is the way that you're doing it, you got it, you know? So I've definitely learned something from it. I hate that it happened. But the mental health thing is definitely a good point to touch on.
It is, yeah. It's such a balance, right? Everybody has to also decide what's right for them and how they deal with any argument with their friend. I used to, when I just specifically talked about friendship, I used to get so many DMs of people being like, what should I do with my friend here? And I would be like, I don't know everything about your history. I don't know anything about you and this person. Friendship dynamics are so unique. Like, yeah, I can give like overall, like general advice based on like the research, but flat out, everybody's different, right?
Yep.
And what will feel good to you will feel like not aligned with somebody else. So, um, I think that's why too exploring these stories is so helpful. And I have our last one here that we talked about at the very beginning. And I chose this one because it's not really like a friend situation, but I also feel like it's like an adultish situation in relationships where we have to deal with in-laws.
Okay.
So, if we choose to get married or just our partner's family. But I have here, am I the asshole for not giving my sister in law and her family a luxury vacation? So I travel a lot for work and have so many hotel and airline points that it's crazy. This summer, I am taking my family to Disney World, and we are going to stay at one of the resorts on property. My sister and my sister in law and her family are having a hard time during the pandemic, so I decided to do something nice and invite them along. My treat. I said I would pay for their flights, hotel, and park tickets. Everyone was excited until she started talking to my wife. Now she's upset that we're staying at one of the resorts and they are having to stay in Disney Springs. Apparently, I'm being cheap by using points for their hotel instead of just paying for them to stay at the same resort as us. My wife told her sister and brother in law to shut the fuck up and accept the gift, but they didn't. They told my in laws that I was making their kids jealous by not letting them enjoy the same stuff as us. To be clear, the hotel I booked for them is very nice. It's just not the Grand Floridian. So I finally talked to them and gave them the choice of accepting my gift or not coming, since I could still cancel their reservations. They started yelling at me for being an asshole and taking something away from their children. I had talked to them like adults, but when they started screaming and their kids heard them and found out that they might not be going, now their kids are pissed for possibly fucking up their vacation, and I'm a bigger asshole for making them look bad in front of their kids. Am I the asshole?
No.
Not at all.
No. That is so nice and generous to do, and somebody just wants more, more, more. No. Clear no.
Nope. And in my opinion, too, paying for something in points is so different. Like using points for something, maybe it's not, but in my brain it is.
I mean, yeah, it absolutely is. It's you've already spent that money to get those points. So if you want me to now not use my points, I'm going to use money straight from my cash flow or on my credit card, like, and also just no, accept the gift. Like, I don't know. I don't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think these people, this is a really great example of not people pleasing somebody. But it's also, I really feel for a writer here too, because I think things can just like get hard or just feel even harder when there are kids involved, like knowing like these kids are like disappointed. But I still don't think that means that you people please these people, because these people really, I think, need to be taught boundaries in some way. And if this person were to just like let like people please them and like pay for them to stay at like a hotel, I think these people would not learn anything either about this
Mm-hmm.
relationship. And you don't
I
want
agree.
something
I
like
think
this.
that if you don't set the scene now, then what are they going to ask for the next time around, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, 1,000%.
Is there an update to that one?
Yeah, somebody says to like take the kids and leave the ungrateful sister and brother-in-law behind. This is funny, but yes, we do have an update. So last year I thought I would do a nice thing. Oh, when is this update from? It's 1 year later. So dang.
Okay.
Last year I thought I would do a nice thing and take my sister-in-law and her family to Disney World with my family. It turned into a shit show because I didn't put them at the same resort my family stayed at. We stayed at the Grand Floridian, and I put them up at a nice hotel in Disney Springs. I also paid for their flights, park tickets, and some meals. COVID was hard on them, and I thought I would do something nice. They went apeshit because I didn't let them stay with us. Anyway, this year we're going to Los Angeles to do all the touristy stuff there. Only 2 days at Disneyland, but it's a much smaller park. We are doing a bunch of other stuff. Our kids love their cousins and wanted them to come along. And I talked to my wife and we agreed to just bring the kids. I did not want a repeat of last year. We talked to her sister and husband and asked if we could bring the kids with us. And it was a shit show. They wanted to know why they weren't invited. So I said that they were, of course, welcome to join us, but that I would not be paying for anything for them. They had to pay for their own flights, hotel, food, everything. That wasn't acceptable to them. They wanted to vacation together as a family, and I asked them what they had planned for their vacation this summer, and they had no plans to go anywhere. They only wanted a family vacation if my wife and I would pay. We're smart enough not to talk to them in front of their kids, and our kids were told explicitly not to tell their cousins that they might come with us. So we withdrew the offer and told our kids that their cousins will not be joining us. They were disappointed, but they understood. My in laws are pissed that we tried to give their kids a cool experience without them. I thought we were just doing something nice and avoiding the issue of having the kids at different hotels. I'm very sure I'm not in the wrong, but a few people said I was an asshole last time, so I thought I would check in to see if I'm missing something.
No, again, that was a nice thing to do to offer to just do the kids and hopefully alleviate some of that drama that could happen, and they did not appreciate it. Again, like I don't know if this family is extremely wealthy and the other is very 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 much so struggling, which is a shame. Like that, yeah, that can cause tension and stuff, but then stop offering. I think now you just have to stop offering
Yeah.
to
Yeah, now
help
you
them out
know.
in any way. Yeah.
Yeah, now you absolutely know, okay, it's not going to be happening with these people. And I do think, right, like it's almost like our OP here learned, like, okay, we're not going to do it in front of the kids. We're not going to like have our kids talk to their cousins,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we're going to try again because we love these kiddos, which I think is very kind, but I am right here with you. I These are just people you cannot like, have these kind of conversations with, these plans with, and now you absolutely 110% know that. So
Yeah, like I'll see you in the backyard party. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like no vacations, no nothing. No.
Yeah. Well, that is what I have for us today. Paige, thank you so much for coming on the Socially Delightful podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I have never dived into Reddit and I'm gonna need to now. This was very entertaining.
It's so fun. Everything I read today, y'all, was from the best of Redditor updates, which I love because I need a conclusion. I need to know what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked that. I liked that because also the first story had me one way. And then the
Hmm.
update and the updates, I was like, okay, I understand more. And I was more on their side.
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
So good. Well, thank you so much. Do you want to tell everybody where they can come hang out with you at Adultish Wines?
Yeah, so a new episode of Adultish Whines comes out every Thirsty Thursday, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. On Instagram at Adultish Whines. AdultishWhines. And my personal is Paige_Crutcher, and you can find it linked there. So come
Beautiful.
join, come wine with me.
Yes, and I went and hung out with on Paige's podcast, which is so fun. And by the way, y'all, if you're like, oh, okay, like I listen to Jules' podcast, so I wouldn't know everything. No, I promise you do not. Like the content that we talked about over there, like hearing it in a different way and like hearing like your takes page on like friendship dynamics and social anxiety, I think is so helpful, especially like right we talked about like the loneliness epidemic with like college kids and like
Yeah.
this such a full conversation. And again, like I've been saying this entire time, you just have to check out her reviews. Like Paige is so fun. So
Thank
go
you.
run over there and check out that episode. I know that Paige also has some content on like nervous system and people pleasing, so I think you guys will really like it over there too.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you there, and thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you, and thank you all for coming and hanging out with us today.
Bye.